So the greenway I ride on more than any other park or greenway or anything else is the Harpeth River Greenway. And it is a means to an end because it is it's like a superhighway for my bike to get to my two favorite parks in Nashville. So I actually chose where we live now out in Bellevue. I actually chose the neighborhood and everything based on where this greenway is and the proximity to my condo. There's a bike lane that goes all the way up to it. There's one little patch of where you have to ride on the street. And then other than that, you're riding on a greenway. It's paved, flat, and pretty much perfect because there's no giant cars that can run over and kill you. So it is the number 7 park in the city of Nashville. It's not really a park, it's a greenway, but I count greenways as parks in some aspects just because this one mainly is. It runs along the Harpeth River, and it's very, it runs through woods. It's very pretty, as you'll see. And it gets me to the 2 parks that are at the top of this list for me, which I'm very excited about. Pretty quick bike ride, and I'm in Edwin Warner Park and can ride around all in there. I can cross over the road, as we'll see in just a second in the time lapse, be in Percy Warner, and you can ride for miles and miles and miles in Percy Warner, and pretty much all off-road. So this is at the end of my street. As you can see, it's a bike lane. Runs all the way through our neighborhood. It's really a big, wide bike lane, which I love. There's a lot of old women and men driving up and down these streets. We live with old people. And then you have this little intersection here, which is really the only place you're on the road. I'm going to cover more about that in just a minute. It turns right into the greenway here. The way you saw it could go 2 ways. So let's back up there. And let's go to the other side. Now this one runs along, you can see it's right along the river. You can see that over to the right. It really just starts going uphill pretty dramatically right here. So you're hoofing, and it's just it's almost like decking. There's a lot of it's wood. You're on the sidewalk, and then you're just going straight up a hill right here. And then you come down, and you can go on the sidewalk. I usually jump on the road there. And then you cut back onto the greenway here. And this goes down next to the river again. All right, so this is the end of the greenway. It's just the ends right here. There is a plan, evidently, there's a train track right here. It runs right there. There's a plan to poke a hole underneath the train track, and there's some soccer fields and another bridge and a greenway right at the interstate. So that's the plan for the greenway. I don't know when or if it will ever happen, but I'm excited if it does. I think it'll add fun little tunnel to go through. All right, so now we'll go back the other way, going back under the bridge. It runs along the back of a little par 2 golf course. And there's like this netting goes across the river on that cool little bridge. And then you're just out in kind of a field. Just flat, river on one side, field on the other side. You usually see deer, depending on what time of the year. And then you come to a big corner. Now another thing is, literally this greenway goes underwater when the river gets up. So if it's raining, you can see all the mud on it. It's not a big deal, but if you're biking, especially on skinny wheeled tires, you're gonna wreck a lot, potentially, and definitely gonna get muddy. So you don't want to hike this thing or ride on it when it's wet. Find an alternate route. This is a pretty cool little area. This goes up to a bike lane, and I go home this way a lot, or I go this way totally to get to the park if the river's up, or I know it's just really muddy. I just don't mess with the greenway because there's this neighborhood goes straight to our neighborhood. And there's bike lanes on both sides of the road. And you can't get into the park otherwise. And also night use, strictly prohibited. All right, this is a pretty fun part. You actually go across this little bridge that goes right over the river. And then it's tossing and turning back and forth, going all kind of crazy directions pretty fast. All right, one of the things about this, and I did this exact thing one day. There is a nice little turn. It's like a big U shape. It goes over a creek and then turns back and goes up the trail. It's really the only place like that, but on a slick day, this gets muddy. So if it's after rain, you got to be careful, because I've done that exact move right there. Hit my head on the pavement, broke the wheel, broke my spokes, had to walk it out the walking path and have Max come pick me up. So the greenway gets covered. You can see today even, it's covered in debris from the trees, but there's also moss and then just mud. Okay, so once you make it through all that treacherousness, you keep going through the woods here. You actually go under Highway 100 there, and you can walk down to the river. And then you're just in a field. You're kind of following along behind Innsworth High School here, still on the Greenway. You cross another bridge, and you're right behind Innsworth High School there. And you're about to come into Edwin Warner Park. So right there, you're in Edwin Warner Park at this point. So this is where I strike off and go in multiple directions. Sometimes I'll ride in Edwin Warner Park, and sometimes I'll do exactly what I'm doing today on this ride, and I'll just keep going right through Edwin Warner, and I will head right over to where I can get to Sneed and Old Hickory Boulevard. So right there, that's Sneed. I'll get on Sneed, and we'll just ride all the way up to Old Hickory and cross the road right into Percy Warner Park, and then you just turn around and come back. And when you get back, you get back onto the main road there, and it gets a little crazy at this point, and I don't like it. This is my most hated part. There's no shoulder. A lot of uphill. A lot of cars whizzing by. A lot of rear view mirror looking. And then after all that, you're good. Bike lane all the way home. It's not too bad. Although I did get hit one day. Almost died. I'll tell you that story later.